basically, what they said was to live and die. Die with a measure of dignity. It's true that you should die with a measure of your dignity left and things like that. However, if you just use euthanasia and off yourself, well, not off yourself, go to the next level at another place, you're not leaving your family, like I mentioned, in the right place, measures such as palliative care will. She said pain is a symptom, and you do have the right to pain relief, such as palliative care and with hospice and palliative care. It'll help you, as I mentioned, relieve that pain, and it focuses basically on the quality of life. You're going to live a great life with the you're going to live a better life with palliative care as opposed to just getting rid of your life, basically. And the palliative care really does help your family get into the idea that you're going to be gone. But with euthanasia, you just do it to get rid of the pain. And like I mentioned earlier, with euthanasia, there's pressures there from your family and from yourself to do it. And that, just because there are pressures, it doesn't mean you're in the right state of mind. Like she says, it is your decision to make it, but it doesn't mean you're always in the right state of mind to make that decision. Such as when Dr. Chava assisted a suicide in somebody who wasn't even sick, or who was basically physically healthy. The thing was, he wasn't in the right state of mind. And that's why they shouldn't allow euthanasia, because they're not always there. The choice is yours, but it's not a great idea to let them make that choice, especially when they're in such great pain. You don't think the same when you're in pain and when you're not in pain. You don't think logically. And like I mentioned, it shouldn't be hard to do it. There's various places that offer it, the nonprofit hospice agencies I mentioned earlier, for people who lack the resources to do it. And they help you and your family do it. And most of it's paid for by the government, paid for by private insurance, and very little people are one of those that pay out of pocket. So there shouldn't be an excuse to use palliative care. As I mentioned earlier, if you make it readily available for anybody, there's always going to be holes. Such as when he mentioned that there was various people who were involuntary deaths. And with those involuntary deaths and people who aren't even terminally ill, there will be a continuation of euthanasia being used, and it'll go on to basically murder in another sense, because it's not being used appropriately, and you can't draft laws in order to make sure that nothing happens negatively. That's why it shouldn't be allowed, and there's always other options such as palliative care, which helps you live longer and helps you go through bearing the pain with you and your family.
Okay, so Fabian discussed how palliative care can sustain your life longer. Palliative care is essentially a lot of national